Hey everyone, Dave Penyuk from Revenue.com, and today we're going to talk about commercial real estate investing, and is it better or worse, or how is it different than residential real estate investing? So we're going to do a little series, and today's video we're going to start with the numbers on acquiring commercial real estate. And when I talk about commercial real estate for the purposes of this video series, we're not going to be talking about apartment buildings or multiplexes or anything with residential units where people sleep and live. We're talking about commercial as in retail, office, and even some like light industrial. You could include heavy industrial, but we don't tend to invest in the heavy industrial. So we're going to focus more on retail, office, and light industrial, if you will, when we refer to commercial. Great. So today we're talking about acquiring properties. So we just recently acquired a fairly large deal. I'm going to go through the numbers here in a second. It's a medical office building that we bought in Nanaimo. And I'm going to run you through the actual numbers of this deal, and then we're going to compare that to a single family home that we bought a couple of years ago. But the single family home, of course, is a lot less expensive, so we're going to basically multiply that as if the numbers were basically the same to buy the properties. So we're going to walk you through that very quickly. So what I want to start off with right off the bat is commercial. We paid $3,050,000 for the commercial medical office building. I'm not going to get into all the details of it, the square footage and how many tenants there are and any of that stuff. That's not relevant for this video. We'll talk about that maybe in another video. But it was $3,050,000 to buy it. That was the purchase price. We bought one house that was $303,000 to buy the one property. So what we did is we just multiplied that by 10 to get $3,030,000. So pretty similar in terms of purchase price if you multiplied it out. And obviously keeping everything equal on those 10 properties, assuming everything was exactly the same. Okay, so we have to be aware of that. There's a lot of assumptions here. In terms of capital that was required on these deals, we required just shy of $860,000 of capital to basically your down payment, closing costs, legal costs, all those sorts of things to buy the property. And again, I'll get into the details of kind of what that looks like in another video. But it was $860,000 of capital, versus it was $74,000 for the one property, or you multiply that by the 10 is $740,000. So about $120,000 difference between buying the commercial property at that $3,050,000 and buying, say, 10 houses for $3,030,000. So quite a difference there in terms of the actual capital. And the biggest difference there is that we could only get 75% financing, loan to value, on the commercial, whereas we could get 80% loan to value with the banks on the residential. So that's one of the key differences, is your loan to value usually can get a little higher with residential. So that's the capital outlay just to buy the property. And there's all sorts of costs within that, which I'll discuss later. Net cash flow on these is where it really jumps out at you. Basically, we're anticipating about $50,000, give or take, of net cash flow. So that's in our pocket. This is annual, not monthly. I wish it was monthly. That's annual net cash flow on the $3,050,000 purchase price. With 10 houses, it's only about $18,000. This is a single-family home, keep in mind, not a duplex, not a property with a basement suite, but it's only about $150 a month of positive cash flow on a single-family home, at least the one that we bought. And these numbers are actual numbers that we've got. So not huge numbers, but good quality single-family home, good tenants, all that, very, very low maintenance. But your cash flow, big difference there, right? $50,000 to $18,000. And again, the $18,000 is based on 10 houses, not one, on 10. This gives you a cash on cash return of 5.8%. So it's $50,000 divided by the money that you put in, $860,000, is 5.8. So almost a 6% cash on cash return. That's pretty darn nice. Again, with a single family, you're looking at $18,000 on $740,000 is only 2.4%. So big difference there. More than about 2.5 times the amount of cash on cash return. Very solid with commercial. Then with also adding in your mortgage pay down, so actually paying the mortgage down, which your tenants hopefully do with paying you rent, that then increases it to 13.2% annually. So 5.8 plus about whatever that is, 6%. 7% of principal paydown, and you jump from 2.4 to 8.9 with the residential. So this is your total ROI, not including any appreciation. It's only on your cash flow and your mortgage paydown. So basically your givens, right? Assuming that you keep the place rented and there's no catastrophes. So 13.2 to 8.9. So, but almost 150% better return on a commercial building on your money. So quite a difference across these. Now I can go into all of the details, but a few things that I did want to just quickly point out is you might think, oh well, then obviously commercial is way better. Well, hold on, it's not necessarily better, because first of all, you're putting in $120,000 more dollars into this. Second of all, to buy commercial, you generally have to outlay a lot more money because all of your costs are higher, your appraisal costs, your inspection costs, potentially a phase 1 environmental, and I'll talk about these in another video. But so right off the bat, there's a lot greater risk with commercial when you go into them. So like I say, there's this difference here too. Now what I wanted to point out as well is, let's to try and even this out a little bit, if we actually took the $120,000 that we saved on the commercial property, and let's say we added some suites into these 10 properties. So rough numbers on the deals that we've done, it's about $30,000, give or take, to add a suite to a home, assuming the floor plan is good. You don't have to do anything extra to the house. You're just adding a kitchen, adding a bathroom maybe, adding some separate heat, that sort of stuff. That wouldn't necessarily get you a legal suite, but it would get you pretty darn close. So $120,000, we find it's about $30,000, so that'd be 4 suites, right? So 120 divided by 30,000 is 4 suites we could add to these 10 homes. By doing that, we basically would double our income. We would almost go to about $35,000 because we get an extra $300 or $400 a month of cash flow for those extra suites. Once you figure it all out, again, I can't get into all the details, but that would then jump this up to about 35, 36, which would then increase your ROI to almost about 4.5% to 5%. So then you start to get a lot closer in terms of your return. It's still not as strong, but it's better for sure. The big difference here is between commercial and residential. Is residential, the advantages, of course, are there's a lot more liquidity with residential than there's commercial. Commercial can sometimes take a year to sell, 2 years, 3 years to sell. It can take longer to get tenants in place. But with residential, say you wanted to get some money out of your deals, you could sell one of these, you could sell 2 of these. You can't sell 1 or 2 of the commercials, it's one building, right? Yeah, you could bring in partners and such, but just for sake of simple liquidity, you're much more liquid with the residential. Another thing that's nice about residential is it's simpler, right? It's a lot easier to figure out residential. It's going to be easier generally to place tenants in residential. You could be vacant for a lot longer in a commercial property than a residential property. So it's that risk and reward thing that you have to consider. Your reward can be higher based on these numbers as I'm showing you on commercial, but your risk is higher too. Like I said, with acquiring the properties, you could spend 10, 15, I think we spent almost $15,000 before we even knew if we were going firm on the deal, because of the building inspection, the appraisal. We didn't have to do a phase 1 environmental, but they can cost upwards of several thousands of dollars. And then there's a commitment fee, etc., which again I'll talk about in another video. So you can see here there is a lot to think about when you're comparing kind of apples to apples, commercial real estate with residential real estate. We like both. And we've done lots of residential. We've done a little bit of commercial now. This has been our biggest acquisition to date. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But based on the numbers alone, obviously we really like the strength of the commercial deal, but there is a lot more risk involved and there's a lot greater costs involved too to keep in mind. So yeah, I wanted to share that with you. Hopefully that allows you to come up with some extra questions you're interested in, you want to consider more about commercial. We've got a few more videos that we're going to send your way to help you decide which is better, commercial or residential. Until next time, I'm Dave Penyuk of Revenue.com.